One. This is the Drewsperience, the show that's 80% combat sports and 20% everything else. Before we get into the show is brought to you by a few things. KRT, Karate Tips and Tricks, with Sensei Darren Stringer and Wesley Jensen, where it's the largest and continuing to grow online dojo to bring together martial arts, whether it's Kyokushin, Shotokan, Taekwondo, or Dutch-style kickboxing, you name it. Also, brought to you by Kyokushin Shuffle Podcast with Sensei Patrick Pinto and his book, Forever the Student, picking Kyokushin's greatest minds to see how they excel out their craft. And finally, Moments Management with Nima Safapur. If you're an up-and-coming MMA fighter and you're trying to understand the game of fighting and how to invest and save your money during your fight window, Moments Management will take care of you. They'll give you the education and the knowledge to understand how to succeed in your fight career and window. Moments Management, where quality and care comes first. And tonight, without further ado, I'm joined by one of the OGs of my shows. He hasn't been on this show yet, but he was on my last show, Beyond the Fight. We don't talk about that show because it was only audio. This is the new show. He gave me support from the beginning. He was one of my early guests when people used to doubt me and they didn't even know who I was. He's the one that gave me the shot I needed, and I'm very honored to bring him back. He's a huge name in the martial arts scene, whether that's for kickboxing, MMA, and Kyokushin, which we'll get into a bit. He's unfiltered. It's going to be off the cuff. I'm pleased to welcome back in a sense, but kind of welcome to the Drewsperience, Sandro Ferrante. Welcome, Sandro.
What's happening, Drew? Like, it's always a pleasure, brother. Always a pleasure to hear from you.
Same here, man. Especially, I got to thank you for doing this. So it's going to be a talk about martial arts, as mentioned. It's going to be crazy. It's just funny. You put it on your Facebook and everyone's like, where can I tune in? It's not tune in. Like I record this stuff. I don't do lives. I'm not good at that stuff. It's like, I'm not good on the spot. I need to record,
Well, like, I'm pretty sure once it'll be recorded, like, you're going to share it. So it's not a problem.
Exactly. So how's it been for you with the pandemic? Because I mean, 2020 started off very well. You're training Nick DeSantis. You were training Roberto RoboCop Soldic for his fight against Mariusz Zaromskis, a Kyokushin black belt who fought in Dream, Pride and More Risen. Fought in Strike Force. He fought Nick Diaz, and I think, you know what? I think Roberto could have won that fight easily because of all the vast knowledge you have. And then March 14th, the world's in a pandemic, and we're all thrown aback.
Yeah, unbelievable. Listen, it hasn't been, I can say it's been a bumpy ride. It's been pretty hard, like, on a lot of our professional fighters, on our athletes, and on our amateur fighters, which want to become professional. So, and it's not been easy for us coaches either. Because there's been so many contradictions and there's so much uncertainty that we don't know what to do, so we try to play by the rules. We try to stay as healthy and safe as possible. We try to advocate for health and fitness, to try to be as safe as possible, so that we want to care for people's well-being. Meanwhile, like, we're getting roadblocks left and right here, like in the province of Quebec, which is making it not very easy for us.
It's crazy how, like, we can't open up, but certain parts of Ontario can, and Alberta and BC are open up. It's like how, what? And thank God we have the AAMQ for this kind of stuff. They were on my show, so shout out to Justin Etheridge and Chris Shawbell from Angry Monkey, because they're the reason why I think we can open again safely.
Yeah, like, I can tell you that I was the first one which was on board, because I spoke to Justin about this, and Justin is one of these teachers, which I don't like to call a coach, but I call a teacher here in Quebec. He's a guy that's very passionate about mixed martial arts, about Muay Thai, about Jiu-Jitsu, and he is homegrown here in Quebec, and he deals with a lot of up-and-comers. He's got a good team. So when he came to me to support the AMMQ, like, I was the first one on board, because we need to show to the government that we're actually an essential service, of course, with proper measures. And we got to be like, we have to be represented by people which are responsible martial artists. You know, like we've always had, like, people look at us and they don't know which bracket to put us in. You know, like they look at us as tough guys, like they look at us as brawlers, fighters. That we're martial artists. We're world class athletes. We change lives. We're teachers. So a big shout out to Justin and a big shout out to the AAMQ, and they got my support 110% for sure.
Same here. Like they were on my show. They approached me. It was the first. It was like the time. It was like I didn't expect them to approach me, but like it was pretty crazy. I was like, "Hey man, you guys want to come on?" And I support them. I support them 110% of the way because martial arts are essential. Say, let's be honest. I mean, how do we bridge the community together? Martial arts schools, regardless of the discipline, you're getting people from all walks of life, no division.
Exactly. Look, like that's something which I strongly back up, because whenever you're looking around the world and there is so much violence, but it's due to religion and politics, but everybody that's into martial arts, you can put a Jewish person with a Palestinian, like you could put a Muslim with an Orthodox, whatever the case is. There is no creed, there is no religion. When you come into a martial arts school, the only religion there is martial arts. So it unites us as a people, you know, and it's been like that for several years. Like it always brings people together: language, race, creed, religion, beliefs, whatever the case. You know, like I met so many great people from like different cultures and different countries which didn't have the same belief system as us. It doesn't matter, because martial arts was that one essential communication. So we try to communicate.
I definitely agree, especially with when it comes to, let's say, in Quebec with Kyokushin. Like I'm an Anglophone. Quebec's a powerhouse. There's a lot of Quebecois that it's like they don't really speak English, and then there's those in English who don't really speak French, but we take the same art. And when I did my first only French interview with Chien Jacques Dupont, that brought attention positively because it was showing like, okay, they're from two different walks of life, but we train the same martial art at the end of the day, and that's what I think helps bridge us together. It's like every time I get like a big Quebec name on that's like more francophone, they recognize the effort. And I think what I want to show is like, it doesn't matter if we're from Boucherville, if we're from Laval, if we're from Montreal, or from Montmagny or Rimouski, we all train martial arts. So, why are we letting like language get in the way? And at the end of the day, French and English are kind of the same. So you just got to put the effort in.
Ask me about that. Listen, like I can say straight up, it brings people together.
Yeah.
And lack of communication. But when we get into martial arts or sports venues, like you could hockey, soccer, volleyball, baseball, football, sports activities, martial arts, it brings everybody together. There is no division. I have never seen it in all my years in martial arts, and I've been around a long time, and I've never seen anybody have no animosity towards somebody else because of the color of their skin. It's martial arts brings people together. I guess people in government need to either experience this or they need to do their homework and go into this deeper.
It's very true. And it even like develops your human potential. Like, I mean, think of people like who have mental illness or like they have mental challenges, and it's like that's their therapy. Like they don't want to be on Ritalin or like some behavioral medication to like with the chemicals. They need to train. It's their outlet. And look at Sensei Russo. When Sensei Russo has people come, the parents say, do you want to? No, and he's like, give them to me without the medicine. I have the remedy. And look what he's done.
100%. It's the oldest remedy ever. Sports can change lives. I can give you so many examples of people which I've taken off the street, which had problems with drugs, which had problems with alcohol, and they came off the street, built from the ground up, which I love to say often, and they made a pact with me, and they went through thick and thin. They went through good times, bad times, but I promised them that it's going to be all worth it at the end of the day. And I can give you names, like I can give you people's experiences, and with some of them even became champions, be it amateur or pro. So, you know, it's a no-brainer. People just need to do their research and they'll see the positive in martial arts and sports activities rather than all the negative.
Very, very true. I definitely agree 1000%. I mean, we know our background, you know, like how we met was through our Kyokushin background. So I got to pay some homage to my Kyokushin community. But you know what? I mean, oh, by the way, I just have to put my charger in. So I know this is kind of weird. I thought I plugged it in, but don't worry. It's right over here. I'm just going to slide over here, but I'll be right back. Just give me a minute. It's like when Rogan takes a piss. He's got to takes a piss. So just give me a moment. Don't worry. We're still live. Don't worry.
Like if you have a bottle on the side too.
Yeah, I got a water jug just in case, because you never know, man. When you gotta go, right? Yeah. So, yeah, obviously, you know, with Kyokushin, you know, you've been around the game for a while. You came up in it. You're in the original Gold Cup. Not many people know that. You've seen the who's.
Yeah, like I was on the first Gold Cup ever. It was 2000 or 2001, if I recall right. I was, I was one of the participants in the original Gold Cup, and I was there for several years, like over 10 years, and I hadn't missed one. Then I think after a couple of those, like after 10 years, I missed like maybe 3 or 4 of them due to injury or due to some other competitions in which I was in. But yeah, like I could say, Kyokushin, Budo, Karate is my basics and fundamentals. I love the art. I love the spirit, the mindset that it gave me until this day and age. It's a never give up type of mindset. It built my body and character, like I can say, like a piece of metal, you know, steel, straight up. You know, like I can give you so much positive feedback on what Kyokushin did to my life. Was like in the worst of my days, I had the dojo to turn to. I had the dojo to go to. If I had family problems or if I had somewhat problems, I went to the dojo. Like that's where I let everything out. That was my outlet. And fortunately, like I was in the era where Kyokushin Legends became K1 Legends too, and I was like I could say not pampered, but I had the honor to train alongside some of your Kyokushin legends. You know, guys like Jacques Sadalescu, guys like Shian Randolph James. Man, like the list goes on and on. Like Shian Roman Shirea. Uh, wow, like Shihan Francesco Filho. You know, like I've been around the greats, and I could say that, you know, like I was fortunate to be alongside these people and train alongside them and listen to their knowledge. And from there, I continued in my martial arts journey.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah. Because the last time you came on, you spoke in depth about that. But we also spoke in depth about, you know, like as much as we love the art, you know, there's a few things. It's not the perfect art in terms of like where there's some in the community. I don't give names, you know, I don't drop names because I don't give snakes attention. But look, every art has it. There's going to be bad, even or just in general. But like, I think the positive is we do have a very powerful community in Quebec. Now, it has splintered off because of all the organizations, you know, like after Oyama died, and then, you know, the big split from IKO, where like others.
Well, look, like I come from the era where I fought right under IKO.
Mm-hmm.
There was the International Kyokushin organization. There was no IKO 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 9, 10. there was just the IKO, and that's all it was. And it was under Masoyama. When Masoyama passed away, it was under Shoke Matsui, and then came all the other IKOs. Now I know it's a question of money, like a question of politics, but throughout the years, I can say I'm not up to date with the Kyokushin community now, but what I've seen and what I've heard is that there is a lot of division. Like instead of being together and strong, and it looks like everybody has a big ego and everybody wants to preach like for their own church, which I totally understand. But at the end of the day, like it's about one art, like it's about Kyokushin Kaikan. Now, what because I haven't been around that, uh, because I haven't been around like for a long time, like in the Kyokushin realm, what I've noticed is there is no more kanjis like on the dogis. It's very rare when I watch some Kyokushin guys which are on social media, they don't have the kanji. It's like it's half a kanji, uh, mixed up with like another meaning. So for me, it's like kind of bizarre because I grew up with one kanji being the Kyokushin kanji, and that's all it was. That was the pure form of Kyokushin Kai, was 90% kumite, 10% kihon, and the rest was, like it was kihon and kumite. That was Kyokushin.
Yeah, I remember, but back in your day, like you had legends. I don't want to focus on today because you've seen the golden era. Like when it was IKO, like these are names in your organization. I'm gonna ring off a few names. You had guys like Alain Bonamy, Reynald Lamar, Pierre Cataford, the Lamar Jesus.
Legend.
Yeah.
They legends, man. Like no matter like if they went off to kickboxing, or no matter if they went off to mixed martial arts, or no matter if like they branched away, to me those guys will always be legends of Kyokushin that went off to other sports, like probably jiu-jitsu, probably kickboxing, boxing, so I can say in that era we were frowned upon. Guys like myself, guys that went off to another art like boxing, that went off to another art like jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai, like we were always looked at or frowned upon, because if we were leaving Kyokushin dojos like to get more knowledge, we were targeted in knockdown tournaments to actually, like, we were targeted straight up, like to get cheap shotted. Like it was very brutal, like back in those days, because it wasn't very open minded.
Yeah, it's like now it's better. I mean, now no one cares really because of the age of the internet. But look, I mean, look, I can't say, there was that, it was kind of that keep it pure, that's what it was. And as sad as it is, that's kind of like that kind of holds back from what the art is, because as Oyama said, we got to raise the art. So why do you think we had K1? Why do you think Ichi Kancho had K1? It's because he brought in guys like the Peter Ertzes, the Semi Schultz, the Michael Thompsons, the Andy Hoogs, Mike Bernardo's. Like, yeah, some of them didn't even have Kyokushin, but it was just to show. Well, if bring them all in, we're raising the bar. Like, everyone's gonna see everything.
So, like, I'm very happy that I lived through that era. That I watched guys like Andy Hugh fight Ernesto Hust, guys like Francesco Filho fight, fight guys like Mirko Krokop, watched guys like Globe Fetosa fight guys like Gary Goodridge. Like these are the pioneers of combat sports. It's like K1, MMA, Pride FC. So of course, like if you're the new fan of today of combat sports, like if they do their research, like they're gonna know who the pioneers are. So I can say, like back in those days, you were more of a fighter, a warrior, than an athlete. Because nowadays, like they're exceptional athletes, they're amazing fighters, because they're more prone to knowing what to eat, what to do. So their bodies are treated more like a Formula One. So they're more athletic. And I could say like there's some pretty tough fighters now, like, but I can say back then, like, they didn't have all of the technology and all of the knowledge of it that the up and coming fighters of now have. But the reason why I love my era is because you knew that two of the best in the world faced one another, and there was, like, nobody backed away from that. Like, there was no political bullshit. It was everything had to be settled in the ring or in the cage.
Yeah, it's just crazy how that like the 90s were like the high point, and then the new millennium comes and it was kind of like it goes mute for like quite a while.
Sure, like I remember K1, they got bought out or they went bankrupt or something like that. Like, I don't really recall, but I think they got bankrupt or something like that.
Yeah, there's something along those lines. There's always something fishy with the Japanese. It's like they pay. It's like, look at Pride. They were like, Pride used to be the number one MMA promotion back in the day. Like, they were doing better than the UFC, and then the tides turn when Pride decides to compete with the UFC coming to Vegas. That was a bad move.
I say in today's era, the new Pride of today is ONE FC, and it's properly managed, and they've got great athletes from all over Asia, from all over Europe, and I could say that's the new Pride, and I could say, like, it's very well organized, and these guys are amazing. Like, I don't know, like, if you follow ONE FC, but it's really cool to watch because it brings you back in the day that it's all about the fighter. It's not about the brand. ONE FC focuses more on the fighter, like on the entrances. It's about the fighter. And that's what was Pride. Pride was all about the fighter. The spectacle was about the warrior. It was about the brand.
That's true. I mean, I remember when they did that, and like not many people know this, but when people say, well, why don't they do a cross promotion ever with UFC and another? They did that in 2003, and not many people know this. They sent Chuck Liddell to represent the UFC.
Oh, yes, true. Sorry. If I remember right, Liddell fought Alistair Overeem or Guy Metzger, if I recall right.
Okay, so here's what happened. So in 2001, back in the day when UFC was still figuring itself out under Zuffa, guys were going back and forth, like guys like Murilo Bustamante, Chuck Liddell. So Chuck Liddell fought Guy Metzger in 2001, right before, like in the summer of 2001. But 2 years later, in 2003, Pride and UFC made a wager because at the time Vanderlei was considered the best pound for pound in the world. And Chuck wanted that. So Chuck went over and he fought Overeem, knocked out Overeem, and then he fought Rampage. But Quinton Jackson just broke his ribs and took him out, like in a decision. Or I take KO. Like, I don't remember the exact decision, but it was a brutal decision. It was like a brutal loss.
Holy shit, Drew, like, you know your shit, because I don't even remember that. Like, I do remember a tad of it, but holy man, like, you know your shit, man. Like, you know your stuff. It's actually impressive, man.
Here's another funny fact. Because you coached Brazilian former light heavyweight champion Vitor Belfort, the legend. One of the first Brazilian champs. Because the first Brazilian champ, they say it's Royce Gracie, but under Zuffa, it was Murilo Bustamante. Then it became Vitor. So Vitor, like I'll never forget. In that year, like same year Chuck goes to Japan, Vitor fights Marvin Eastman. And to this day, it's still my favorite Vitor knockout to watch.
Oh, like the Eastman one. Yeah, like it was brutal. It was brutal. Yeah, and if you're talking about some Brazilians, now we're going way back. I think there was Marco Ruas, which was one of the first Brazilians, which I think he won like a UFC back in the day. Like it was like UFC 7 or UFC 10. Like, I might be mistaken, but I remember. And like the reason why that I remember him was because I was a fan of the low kick, because I come from Kyokushin, and he was one of the only ones which used to batter people with low kicks. Him and Pedro
Hizo.
Exactly. So these guys were killers with the low kick. So that's why that I type of emulated these guys. Like, I like them, and that's what caught my eye. Like with the UFC, because we weren't very knowledgeable with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu yet. So we didn't, like a lot of martial artists, like we didn't understand it. Like we didn't get like going to the ground, and like we didn't understand chokes and heel hooks. It was mostly shoot fighting that was in Japan. And then when, of course, Hoist Gracie came along, he revolutionized the art of fighting, which I could say today, like if you're a professional mixed martial arts fighter, you are one dangerous man.
Yeah, back then it was like no holds barred fighting. Like you had people fighting with one boxing glove, you had people fighting with wrestling shoes. Vitor was fighting open weight versus Tank Abbott.
Yeah, amazing.
Good times. Like, I mean, people say, "Oh, well, that wasn't." Listen, this is what I always say on the show, and I'm gonna say it as many times. If you like mixed martial arts, you have to get Fight Pass and look at all the fights before the Conor McGregor's, Khabib's, George St. Pierre's, Anderson Silva's.
But now, like, it became mainstream. So now, like you said it very well, and and I say this too, that it's good and bad. Like for the sport, there's a lot of casuals which are out there, which only know Conor McGregor. They only know, Holly Holm or Ronda Rousey. So these are the casuals who just want to watch the UFC only when Conor's on. So in a way, it's good because it became mainstream. But in another way, like the purists like yourself and myself that have been in martial arts for so many years, it can get annoying. It's like I'd rather sit in my living room and invite people that understand the art and understand martial arts, rather than have the casual Joe just tell me, hey, like, how come, like, they're not standing up, or hey, like, I should have knocked them out. So, like, it really annoys me.
Oh, I had that too one time. That's why, like, when I watch UFC events, like, I'm very picky too, because I don't want people talking between the commentary too, or when Joe does his interviews. It's like at one point we had this, I'll never forget this. So everybody watched UFC 205, the first Madison Square Garden card. That was big because that was a big fuck you to the government that used to say the mixed martial arts was human cockfighting. So I have it's for my 25th birthday. I have my some of my friends over. We had one guy that didn't even know anything about MMA other than Conor McGregor. Question every damn time, and I'm like, and I just give him that look, like, can you just keep quiet for 5 minutes?
That's why, like, when I like to watch my fights, I like to be alone. So some people tell me, oh, coach, I'm like, you're a savage. No, like, I just like to watch the art. Like, I like to try to still understand what's going on. It's like somebody that understands soccer and they watch it like with a passionate eye. They know what's going on. So I'm like the same type of individual. Like when I'm watching a fight, which is very interesting because it's clash of styles. So then, like, you're gonna understand why this individual did this and why that individual did that. So you'll understand it because probably fatigue came in, probably he's a bit weaker, like on the ground game. So you watch it with another perspective. When you're in a bar, like, let's just say, and you watch it amongst like another 500 people, like in the place, there's so much emotion which is running wild that a person like myself, which likes to dissect fighters and watch it with a keen eye, I don't get pleasure to watch it around like 200 people because there's too much emotion, because there's too much bias.
Yeah, it's very true. Like taking another example is like if there's a John Jones fight, like my rule is it's like that's the only fight I watch with Mo. It's like Mo, it's like I call him up, like Mo, John Jones is fighting. We watch it. Okay. It's the only one I can watch a John Jones fight with because I have other friends that are Daniel Cormier fans and they don't shut up about DC is a no, he didn't beat John Jones. I don't care what anyone says. I don't like DC. I think he's a great personality. I don't like his style. Okay. I don't like wrestling. Okay. I get it. It's important. But John Jones makes wrestling better. Okay. So don't tell me that DC's better. He didn't beat John Jones. He got beat in a decision, and he got head kicked and ground and pounded on July 29th, 2017. And how do I remember that? Because I had 3 friends over who were DC nut riders, and I said, I told you so. When John Jones beat him up. Look, you don't have to like John Jones. I know I always say about it. But yeah, other ones too. For example, like people don't know about Gegard Mousasi. Like that's another one people don't talk about. And it's like
he's a guy that's been ignored by the UFC, which I find that unfortunate because he could have been one of their champions, and he's a legend of the sport. And I could say he's done it all. Like he's been all over the world, man. Like he's amazing. Like he's got the skills to prove it. Just like I don't know how it functions, and I don't know how they make this like at the UFC. But he's one which I didn't understand why he never got a title shot.
He was one shot away too. Did you see that I interviewed his manager? Like, guys, look up my interview with Nima Safapur. And Nima spoke about what happened because in 2017, Gegard Mousasi was on a 5-fight win streak. This is who he fought. Okay. So he lost to Uriah Hall in 2015 in a fluke loss. It was a very fluke loss. Like, look, it just got caught. Happens. It's fighting no matter what. Doesn't mean they're a bad fighter. I'm a fan through and through. Fought Talis Lighties. Thiago Santos, that no one talks about. Thiago Santos, who was knocking people out, and then fought John Jones on 2 broken legs.
Yep, a monster.
Yeah. So he fights Thiago. Then he fought Vitor. Then he fought Uriah Hall again to eliminate that fluke loss. You know, good on him. And then he beat Chris Weidman, and he was right there. But then George St. Pierre came right back. And you know what? I don't blame Michael Bisping because if I want a money fight to change my career, I'm going to take that fight. But the riskier fight is Gegard because it's low reward and high risk.
Yeah, like if you're looking into politics, if you're looking at an agent's point of view, I wouldn't have fought Mousasi either. You know?
Well, for example, do you remember the UFC card after the Madison Square Garden? It was the Holloway versus Pettis card.
Yeah, but I don't recall it that well, but I remember.
Okay, so DC was supposed to fight Rumble on that card. DC got injured. Who do you think they called to ask Rumble, hey, do you want to fight for an interim title?
Was it Gegard?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a report about it. And Rumble said, oh, I don't do interim titles. It was, he said it's just because he said, I'd rather fight for the real title out of respect for DC. But in reality, I mean, I think that's a very dangerous fight for Anthony Johnson because if you put something when you put something in front of Gegard and when he's active, he is easily almost unstoppable.
Like if you're asking me, like I could say the agent actually did a smart move on behalf of Anthony Rumble Johnson because he could have railroaded his career. Because if Gegard was gonna have a piece of Anthony Johnson, I could say Gegard was gonna get out of there victorious, and then it was gonna mess up everybody's plans.
Yeah, that's true. Because then Gegard would fight DC, and then that we don't know how that could go. Because everyone says, well, DC's an elite wrestler. Well, Gegard's an elite striker. And I mean, if you watch his fight versus King Mo back in Strikeforce, which King Mo won by decision, I think that was a BS win. Because if you look at King Mo's face, it's like, that's why don't leave it in the hands of judges. That's why, you can't do that because the judges don't understand this sport as well as you and I would.
Well, are the judges still the guys from the Nevada State Commission, which are boxing?
Yeah, but that fight was held in Nashville back in the day.
Because I'm pretty sure nowadays they're educating the judges a bit more. I would hope so because it's MMA. They actually retired fighters or coaches which know the game rather than have old school boxing judges which don't understand the ground game. So that's something which probably they're working on, or they're probably going to change it up. I hope so, because it could ruin a lot of careers.
Exactly. That's why. So to take it back to what I was saying about Gegard, and he's another one that people only the hardcores like myself, you Mo, like 5 others. Like, and that's why when people say, "Why do you talk about this guy so much?" Because you know what? One day he's gonna leave, and then you're gonna come across his highlights, and you're gonna say, "Wow, I wish I saw him fight." So you know what? I kind of have like a duty. So yeah, like I love his manager, you know, Nima, and like shout out to Nima. That's who I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Yeah, so Nima, who manages Gustafsson, guys like greats like Gustafsson, Gegard, Pani Kianzad, Costello Van Stennis, among others. Like we were talking about that, and you know, I said to Nima, I said, I want to do what I can to make people aware because when he's gone, they're gonna miss him.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like we said, like if you're a mixed martial arts fan, you'll know who he is, and if you're a casual, well, you're a casual, you know.
There's not much more to it. Like they like the trash talkers, but you know what? He doesn't need the trash talker. A guy like Gustafsson, like if people look at Gustafsson, I mean, look at how Gustafsson helped propel the sport with his fights with John Jones. Like,
Like they went a whole 5 rounds. It was great to watch.
yeah, you were there probably because you had some Tristar guys there.
No, I don't think I was there. No, I don't think I was.
No, you weren't at that. You weren't at that one. Okay, Toronto. That was in Toronto. I'm surprised.
No, no, no. Like I wasn't in Toronto.
Okay, what about the John Jones Vitor fight? That was a crazy one.
Yeah, like if we're gonna go back, yeah, like I really, we had spoken about that like on the airplane, and Vitor told me that he was slipping off of the arm. So I guess that's what saved John Jones's arm, because if it would have been like, let's just say like less sweaty, I could say that today like it would have changed all of the course of time. Like he would have been the light heavyweight champion of the world again, you know. So whatever, you know, like I can say yeah, like we spoke about that on the airplane, and it's just how things go, man. It's and then I was fortunate enough to be one of his striking coaches for his last 3 fights, like in the UFC. So for me, like I was very honored, and I was most astounded, surprised. You know, yes, like I've been around some of the best on the planet. I've worked with world class athletes, but when I was asked to be uh, you know, like it actually, his manager asked me to meet him at the Brazilian consulate. So I had to get a visa. And I was like, really? Holy shit. Like, I'm going to go to Rio, you know, because a lot of people like were gunning for Vitor to be his striking coach. So I just did my thing. I stayed real. Like I tried to share my knowledge a bit, and we just clicked. We just connected as human beings. You know, like I didn't put more to it. Like I didn't try to. You know, like let's just say like the real thing here. Like I didn't try to outclass some other great coaches here in Montreal. Like I just did my thing, and I was grateful to Firas Sahabi because he introduced me to it. But when we started talking, we kind of connected, we clicked, and we have the same beliefs, same mentality, same like type of training, rigorous type of mindset. So myself coming from Kyokushin, he knew a lot of Kyokushin artists back in his day, so he had a lot of respect like for that art, and we just connected, we clicked, and we worked.
Very true. Like, yeah, he knows like I had like guys, he knew guys like Andrews Nakahara, Iwerton Teixeira, Feitosa Fijo. The list goes on. Like he knows so many Kyokushin legends in Brazil, and he loves like that style. Like, I mean, he loves training with them. I mean, how do you think? Look at his fight versus Rockhold. Best spinning back kick I've ever seen. So fuck Luke Rockhold.
Yeah, like that was nice. But then comes, of course, like people are gonna always complain, and they're gonna always find excuses. But hey, like that's the fight game. You know what I mean?
I mean, look, I don't hate Luke Rockhold. I just don't like his attitude, especially after like he has his nose up in the air, like he's the best thing since sliced bread, and then a guy like Vitor just comes in, gives him that spinning back kick like in Kyokushin Taekwondo style, and it's like wow, it's like Vitor still got it. Definitely one of the greatest boxers in terms of like middleweight, like the way he just swarms you with those punches.
Yeah, like I can say, when I was holding pads for him on numerous occasions, like I could say he has that power will never go away. Like no matter how old he gets, power is the last thing to go for a fighter. And when he was hitting me like in those pads, I felt that snap. So imagine in a 4-ounce glove.
Hmm. I wish we got that fight Uriah Hall versus Vitor, because that would have been such a good fight.
We were in St. Louis and we made weight. And on the same day, from what I recall, Uriah Hall got transported to the hospital. I guess because he had some poisoning or he had a bad weight cut. So like there was a lot of rumors. So like I didn't get like the full story, but I remember, excuse me, like we made weight and he was ready to go. Like he was cocked and loaded in St. Louis for the fight night. And yeah, like it just so happened that on the day of the weigh-in, looks like Uriah Hall had been transported like to the hospital by emergency. So we didn't even know what was going on. And it was a UFC official at the weigh-in, sorry, at the pre-weigh-in. It's not the one that's on TV. Like it's the one that they actually weigh us in and then like they're gonna record it after. So it was a UFC official that came and give the news to Vitor, and I saw Vitor's face like drop. So I'm there. What the hell is going on, V? So he's there. Looks like Uriah Hall can't fight. Like he's been rushed to the hospital. So Vitor was really, I could see he was really disappointed because he had like had a great training camp. He was injury free, and he was ready to like give his 100% after a nice win in Brazil against Nate Marquardt. So yeah, like it unfortunate events, you know.
How would you see that fight going? Because with your Kyokushin background, and Uriah Hall is a Kyokushin from Tiger Schulman, so what would have been the game plan in terms of like Vitor neutralizing Uriah's striking?
From what I remember, what like we were working on was like to work him, and to pressure him and to get him closer to the, because we didn't want to fight him like in the center of the cage because he's very agile, he's very good with setups, but he needs space like to do this. So we didn't want to bring the fight in the center of the octagon because it could have been like a 50-50 roll of the dice. So if I remember right, like the game plan like was to pressure Uriah, and he doesn't like pressure and he doesn't react very well to pressure. So like we were working on like using a lot more boxing and dirty boxing, elbows and clinch work.
Yeah, that's something that's like that I noticed with Uriah. When you really, really pressure him, he gets nervous very easily. And I mean, I'm not trying to take anything. I wouldn't never take anything away from any pro fighter because look, I'm a casual in the sense of like being a fighter. I understand though, but in terms of like how much potential he had, and like how like it was never realized, it's like how we have busts in team sports, like, oh, that guy was a draft bust. That guy was like, I would definitely say Uriah is kind of like a fight bust because he came in with all that hype, did that spinning back kick on Tough, and then he was like never the same after.
Well, I could say from what I've seen, like Uriah Hall is so talented, it's unbelievable. But from what I've seen throughout the years in his fights, and I'm strictly talking like a mixed martial arts striking coach, I could see like he buckled sometimes right under pressure. He didn't you know, he didn't adapt very well to certain fighters. So like if he had some sort of a mismatch, it wasn't going to be a good night for him. But I can say like he was looked at as the next Anderson Silva back when he popped onto the team, and I was impressed with him. Like I really liked his style because like we're from the same background, and I prefer strikers. So like I like guys like him that are really pinpoint, quick, fast, and he's very good. It's just that I don't know what happened to him. Like what happened that railroaded him? Like, was it the coaching? Was it the camps? Was it the mismatches? I couldn't tell you. Like, I don't know.
Yep, that was pretty crazy. Like, you know, he had so much. It's just like there's so much talent. Like, and I remember Dana was like behind him so much. Like, they were really trying to build this guy up to like be the next big thing. But just, it's one thing to have the physical tools, but it's all in here. It's like, what are you thinking on fight day? What are you thinking outside? Like, how are you spending your recovery time? And you have to put two and two together when it's crunch time.
You know, that's what people don't understand about being a professional fighter in any combat sport, being jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, K1, mixed martial arts, uh, boxing. You know, it's you can have a great training camp and you can, you know, knock out all of your training partners and you can feel 100%. But it's the day of the fight, the the morning that you open your eyes. That's when everything becomes reality. You know, that's when you get up and everything has to go right. So if you get up on fight day and something goes wrong, like it could railroad you the whole day up to the fight. And you could be in the best shape ever and you could be motivated as hell, but it's on fight day which it counts. So if you can handle the pressure and if you believe in yourself so well, and I could even give shout outs to great coaches which are gonna psychologically build you up to the fight, that you're always gonna have that belief system, knowing that you're unbreakable, you're steel, you're unbeatable, you're fire, you're ungraspable, you're water. You need those hype men. You need a trainer, a teacher, a coach, which will constantly remind you that you're one of the best on the planet, and that's why you're there. And I could say sometimes some of these fighters, you know, like you just said, like they mentally break down. So these guys could be physically on the money, but on the day of the fight, like you don't know what goes through their mind.
Yeah, very. That's just the way it is. Like it's like it happens to anyone, even if it's amateur too. Like they're the best, and then they just collapse. It just happens. Like, I mean, George famously talked about it, like in his fight with Matt Serra, the first one, why he lost, and you know, like he thought he was gonna have an easy night. People thought he was gonna win, but didn't show up mentally.
Well, George, you know, because I was part of his fight camp, like I remember those days, and I could say that George had too many yes men there. That was back in those days. So I am not gonna bullshit you about this. You know, like when you're that young and you bust onto the UFC scene, which is some of the best fighters on the planet, and you become champion. Well, of course, like it's gonna get to your head, money, fame, women. You know, like you're gonna be idolized, and you're gonna have a lot of people which are gonna say yes to whatever the hell you say. So he needed to surround himself with people which were gonna keep him grounded and tell him, listen, like you got to get your ass in the gym. And he said it himself. He learned a lot of. He learned a lot from that loss as a fighter and as a human being. So I guess that's where he changed like his whole fight camp, and like he reinvented himself to be the legend that he is today.
It's very true. Like, I mean, because you said yes, man. And I remember he said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing here, where he's like, I was getting texts all the time, calls. And then when I lost, they stopped coming. And that's when you realize who's
Yep.
really in your corner.
Look, like the best thing to ever happen to a fighter, be it Kyokushin, Muay Thai, K1, UFC, wherever, you have to lose. That's the best thing which will ever happen to a champion. You have to get your head knocked off. You have to get TKO'd. You have to lose. You have to understand how to lose. And then everything becomes clear again. Because then you'll see who's there for you in your worst of times and in the best of times. And then you'll know what to correct. And you'll know who will be there to be real with you. Like if you're having a good day, a bad day, like at the office, you have to have people around you which are not going to be intimidated by your start, but will be straight up with you and tell you the truth, even if it hurts your feelings. The coach or teacher has to put those feelings aside and tell it like it is. Like if you're slacking off, or if you're not putting in the time that you're supposed to be putting in.
It's like that too for me when I had like when I started getting the really big names with this show. Like, you know, like I have a very good circle, like in terms of like when it's you, Mo and Michael Zimmerman, and they just say, keep grinding. Don't you can't be like, oh, like look at what happened yesterday. You have to create new success now. And like the best thing that I remember, like Mo like told me, he's like, listen, he's like, it's nice that you're getting all like this support and you know you're doing it yourself, but he's like, you gotta be a bit, he's like, you have to make yourself a bit inaccessible. Like, so yeah, like I don't want to like try to sound like a big shot here, but I have like people that add me on Facebook, they watch my shows. I don't accept their ads right away because like I appreciate they're taking the time because they want to get to know me, but I don't. But I hate to say it, like I like to keep a close circle. You don't want to have like too many yes men, and you know like that's what it is. You know, like I only have so much bandwidth that I can deal with on a daily basis.
It makes total sense, and it's not only in martial arts. I guess it's everywhere. So I guess that's another thing which martial arts taught me. So it's to be humble, it's to be simple, but it's to know your circle, and it's to know who to trust and who not to trust, and it's who to forgive but not to forget. So you got to know, with who you're dealing with and why. So yeah, like that's another thing which martial arts taught me. So I'm pretty sure like it taught you the same.
Well, listen, I'm not gonna lie. Like I come off as a very look. Like I don't want to try to say I'm a white knight. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the means. I have my flaws. I have my egos. Like we all have a chip on our shoulder. So like for example, like this is gonna make you laugh. So like sometimes like for those who used to doubt me and like reject me, come on my show, they used to leave me on red. Now I'm getting attention. They're giving me attention, and it's kind of like. And it's kind of like, okay, you doubted me once before, and this is this. Okay, so you know what? It's like, you ever watch The Last Dance?
Nah, like I don't really remember that.
Okay, it's the Michael Jordan documentary about like their. It was just on. It's
Oh
like, okay,
yes.
so there, you know, where the scene where he's like, and I took that personally. The thing is, I always like, I was telling when and like that meme is like, and I took that personally. So to anyone that like that, to everyone that doubted me, like when people ask, some people ask me, how are you so good at what you do? Because you have to understand, when I see the doubters start giving me attention, whereas before they were just like thumbing their noses off at me, it's like, okay, you didn't want to talk to me when I was a nobody, but now you want to be my friend. And I took that personally. So listen, don't give me, because the thing is, it's like, if you give me that opportunity to light that fire under my ass, whether it's like to make an enemy out of something, or like when you give me something, like when you have me make visually an enemy or an enemy out of something, that fire gets lit under my ass. I'm humble, but I'm going to make sure that I shock everybody. And that's what I love doing.
That's a great type of motivator. Like that's a motivator which works fine with you. And like I say, like that's one way to do it. It's like people that don't believe in you. Well, you don't got to get emotionally attached to it, but use it as motivation. Saying, look, like you're not that important, but you're one of the reasons why like I'm exceeding in what I'm doing now.
Yeah, like for example, I recently had like, so I had like one of my mom's cousins hear my show, and she was like, you got to tell him to stop swearing. So, and that was the day, is like, we'll talk about it off the record, but like the story was like, so it was like today was the day. So I just told her, and I was on speakerphone. So so that was like, it wasn't my mom's fault, just because came over and I overheard her say it. So it's just like not a good day to say it to me. So I just say to her, if you don't like the show, it's explicit for a reason. You don't have to watch it. Like, I mean, your one opinion doesn't make a difference in my day or time, because you're not the one getting my guests. You're not the one that helps me with the show. You're just someone that probably saw maybe a snippet of it and you said I shouldn't swear. Well, guess what? Everybody swears. But I appreciate your opinion, but I appreciate your 2 cents. And at the end of the day, I really don't care, because I'm going to keep fucking swearing if I want to.
Swearing just shows that you're honest.
No one likes honesty. Honesty is
Well,
Honesty.
well, we live in a funny time, where when you speak the truth and it hurts people's feelings, they either do two things. One, like they want to rile up against you, or two, they just run away from you, or they want to just ignore you. But at the end of the day, truth is always going to come out, no matter how long it takes. Like everybody gets figured out. And so if you're lied, like the thing about martial arts, and then why are we talking here, is you cannot lie. Like if you come to one of my classes, you cannot lie in any martial art. Like if you come to one of my classes and say, "Oh, coach, like I was a professional fighter, like I did this, and this and that." Okay, no problem. Like I'm gonna take your word for it, but you're gonna have to show me. You're gonna have to not prove it to me, but you're just gonna have to show me, like with your skill set, with your determination, with your work habits. So as a coach, when I'm in that martial arts environment, people can't lie to me because right away it's transparency. So in today's era, a lot of people talk about faking it until you make it, but in the martial arts scene, you can't do that because you get exposed real quick. You cannot fake it till you make it. And I find that in today's era with social media and this and that and filters and like all that fucking bullshit, it's like people are trying to be not who they really are. But in the martial arts environment, be it whatever, jiu-jitsu, Kyokushin, MMA, whatever, you can't lie. You cannot lie. You're exposed. You're open. So you cannot try to be somebody you're not when you're coming to a striking class and you're telling me that you were a pro when you clearly are not. So that's why I love martial arts. I think it's one of the purest places still that still exists today, like in our society.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Like there's so many, and that's the thing too. Like you ever like you look at McDojo page, it's like so many bullshit senseis, like or martial arts, and it's like because people, some of them they're looking for somewhere to belong, and they want to be a cult leader. And if they want a cult leader, they want to take everybody's women and fornicate with them. So that's the thing. So look, that's the thing. There's a lot of BS martial artists out there.
Like we could get on that subject and talk for hours about self-proclaimed coaches or self-proclaimed martial artists. But at the end of the day, the easiest way like to expose these people is to look at their resume, is to see how they conduct themselves years after they did this and to understand why they're doing it. So there's a why to it. It's like, why am I still in the martial arts game when I started in 1992? Why am I still here? It's because I love this. It's my passion. I grew to be open minded. I never took it as a competition. I looked at it as a journey, a learning procedure. Still now that I'm 45 years of age and I am not, and I still don't know it all. I still learn. Like I still take bits and pieces of the up and coming generation of guys like Nick DeSantis, like he's young, he's willing, but I take a bit of his talent and I try to learn from him too. Then I look at guys like Roberto Soldic, which is the KSW welterweight champion, and he's an icon in Germany, and I learn a bit from him. Then, fortunately, like I coach alongside people like Firas Zahabi. I coach alongside some people that have been in the game for decades. So I don't look at myself as, hey, like I know it all because I've been in the game for over 30 years. No, like I still learn. Like I still take bits of pieces of him, bits of pieces of him, bits of pieces of a fighter, bits of pieces of a guy that's been in the game a long time too. So if you look at it as a learning procedure, no matter how old you are or how long you've been in the game, I think you'll always be relevant, like if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's very true. Like, but there are some that are just like you said, been since 1992, but they never modernized their resume. They have that attitude like they're entitled to something, and it's like no, bro, you aren't. You aren't.
Nobody
It does.
Nobody owes you shit. In the martial arts game, you got to earn whatever you do because it's a cutthroat business, man. Like I can tell you from personal experience, like you could get alienated, like you could get bad mouth, but at the end of the day, it's what you do and what you accomplish and how you treat people. Because I'm pretty sure that people which I treated with respect 10 years ago will nowadays will remember me as being a coach which was human to them. Like I didn't just latch onto them to try to build my reputation. I was human to them. And if we got along and if we clicked, we did well. And if we parted ways, like there was a reason for it. But you will never hear anybody say that, oh, well, coach latched onto me because he wanted to pump his reputation like in the UFC. You'll never hear that from nobody which I've coached. Nobody. Because you got to earn it on your own. Because you got to do it on your own. That's why I'm very proud of my amateur champions because I'm very proud of the people I've helped build up from off the street and they became a competitor, an amateur champion, and some of them are even becoming professional fighters. So for me, like I take more pride in them than I can say, you know, like being familiar with George St. Pierre, being familiar with Vitor Belfort, being familiar with Ryan Ford, you know, like I can name you a list of names which I've worked with, but I'm more proud of the people which I've built from the ground up and not the guys which I was just part of a training camp. So that's the difference. Like that's just
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I remember when I came by to Tristar in January, and like you told me about Roberto, and it's like you're like, yeah, you can meet him, and one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. Bit of a language barrier because he's from Germany, but the thing is, like, he saw that I'm friends with you, and yeah, like it was definitely one of my highlights, and that's what I still want to get him on my show. I know there's a time zone difference, so I'm gonna shoot my shot here, be like, "Yo, Sandro, can you help me get?" But being serious, like I did want to, because like I know you were like people were telling me like what's going on with you and Soldic, and I said something's in the works, but then COVID hit, so
well, look, like he was supposed to fight Zoromski,
Aramskis.
the legend too, like in the game, like in the combat game, and Roberto fought again, and he beat. I don't remember the guy's name, but he fought recently, and in the time of COVID, like he defended his title, and now I don't know, like if he's got a fight which is coming up. So we're always constantly in communication, but like it's pretty hard like these days because he was
Yeah.
supposed to come to Montreal, but now with all these restrictions, like I don't think it's worth it for him to come down because it's going to cost him an arm and a leg, you know.
Yeah, that's why it's tough. But man, KSW, that's another promotion no one really talks about. I think it's definitely for the European circuit. It's like the one that people should. There's obviously Cage Warriors. There's even some Nordic ones like in Sweden, Norway, Denmark. Shout out to Freya MMA, my boy Reza Pedersen, who covers the Scandinavian MMA scene. Just gotta give him a shout out. But but I think KSW is one of the ones that like it's kind of quiet, but it kind of gets mistaken as like that red skinhead fight league, but it's like, yo, there's some killers in there, like Mahomed Kadylov, a Kyokushin Taekwondo specialist. Guy did a fucking flying jump kick on a dude on like Halloween, and then Joaquin Buckley does his spinning. Yo, like, guys, follow KSW. Like, Kadylov is one of those guys. You got Soldic, you got Mariusz Podolski, the strongman.
Racic too, which I worked with, like he's the bantamweight champion. Like his name is Antun Racic, where he's the 145-pound KSW champion, which I worked with him too. I worked with him on one specific camp, and that's another one of their champions. I could say in the European, there's the Brave FC, which is another good federation. So like I've worked with some of those guys. Like there's this guy called Attila, there's a guy called Rani. which I've worked with that they come out of Germany, but they're Turkish. Like I might be mistaken them because like I haven't spoken to them like in a while, but I had the honor to work with a lot of these European fighters, which are very good. These guys are killers, man. Like these guys are great strikers, great mixed martial artists. Like the guys that come from those countries, man, like they're built from another cloth. Like if you ask.
It's very true. Like a guy like Soldic, like, has a judo background with some Dutch kickboxing. And then, the game plan for Zaromskis, was it kind of the same thing like Vitor with Uriah? Or was it kind of more like, because this is not middleweight, this is welterweight. So there is a bit more speed involved here.
Like from what I remember, like what Firas was doing with Roberto and what I was working with him was we just had to, because we had to break him down, because he's an older fighter. He's a veteran of the sport, so he knows all the tricks. Like he's very savvy. So we had to depend like on strength and conditioning and explosiveness. So Roberto being a southpaw and being a very aggressive puncher, I could say like we would have broken him down.
I think it would have been a very good fight because I do think Roberto, I find Soldic kind of has that same style of a Mousasi, very good like grappling, like with judo, but also has got that really like, it's like Dutch kickboxing and boxing.
Yeah, like he comes from the Dutch kickboxing realm, and he's a fan of it. He's very prone to it. I guess that's why when he came to Montreal, from what I recall, Firas knew of him already, and I know Firas had worked with him already. And when I came onto the scene and I met him, and we just clicked because we have the same type of mindset, like that grinding Dutch style kickboxing training. And myself being an active coach, which I try to be because I'm all broken, like because of Kyokushin, but I try to, sorry,
It's okay.
but I try to be in shape as best I can. As
You set off your Mortal Kombat arcade there, didn't you?
what this here? I mean,
Oh, it's over there. I thought you set it off. Okay.
like it's here. Yeah. So no, like like we hit it off because we both have the same mentality of the Dutch style kickboxer, and we had a similar style, but of course, like he's younger, faster, stronger. But myself being an active coach, I guess the type of motivated him like to work with me too because I actually train alongside some of the guys which I get to work with. So if I do that, like I think it's an extra motivator for them. And of course, like I can't do exactly what they do because I'm not up to par no more. Like I'm actually an older man now. But I think if I could keep up with some of these guys, like it actually motivates them to train harder. So if the old coach, like the old lion, like could do it, well then like they have no choice but to get their ass in gear.
You got it. How about Ayman Zahabi this past weekend?
Super impressed, super happy for him. Listen, like I've known Eamon since he was a kid. I remember watching him running around the dojo while we were all sparring together and watching him become a man and watching him become a professional UFC fighter and watching him win by knockout of the night. For me, it's like, it's, like I feel like a family member won that fight, so he's very deserving of that win, because I've seen him in his ups and downs and he's a hard worker, man. Like yes, like he's got Firas like by his side. Yes, like he's got some great coaches like by his side. But Eamon, from what I've seen throughout the years, has grew up in that environment that where he never slacked off. Like he's he always puts in that work. So it's well deserved. It was a beautiful feint with that overhand right, and he caught him on the button. It was very well timed, and I could say like he's one of the guys has a great attitude. work ethic, very good, you know, and he deserves what is coming to him, you know.
That's very good. I mean, yeah, like he started like what? When was he started in what, 2016 or 2017 when he went pro?
I couldn't tell you, but I think his first couple of fights, like they weren't very good. So like for him to come back from, you know, from some losses and still grinding it out at the gym, still like sparring with some of the best on the planet, and grinding. Like you gotta have mental toughness, like to make it big, like in this arena. You know, like a lot of people tend to say, yeah, but you guys are at TriStar. I mean, you guys have the best of the best to train with. You guys have good coaches, like you have knowledgeable coaches. But at the end of the day, like if you don't put in that work ethic, we don't matter, because you can come in and train once a week and you'll say, oh, well, I train at TriStar with so and so, but you don't put in the work, you ain't gonna go nowhere. So Eamon to me is the total opposite. He grew up in that environment, has great minds around him, has good people around him, like great sparring partners. And look, like I can't say nothing bad, man. Like he's been a gentleman. He's always been respectful. Uh, you know, well deserved. That's it. Well deserved, man.
Yeah, the TriStar family is a big thing there. There's like you, PJ, Jeremy Rubin, Rob, even like Mel Masella,
Neil Shepard.
some Pita,
Neil Shepard.
Neil Shepard. Yeah.
There's Conrad Plum, which is the founder of TriStar. There is Philip, which is the original Muay Thai coach there. There's Master Peter, which is, I think, one of the original Muay Thai coaches there.
Oh
So,
man, I love how Jamie just fucking roasts Peter.
yeah, like I can give you some crazy ass stories, but yeah, like that's what makes it very diverse. Like I can say, like we're like the United Nations, so there not everybody is on the same wavelength there. And like I'm talking about coaches, styles, this, that. But at the end of the day, it's back to martial arts, so that respect factor is there. So it's all about martial arts. But yeah, of course, like we're not perfect. I could say, you know, like people like have like run-ins due to styles, due to miscommunications. It's totally normal, you know. But at the end of the day, like when we work with a fighter, and Firas sees that if I blend better with that fighter, I guess he's gonna, you know, like I guess that he's gonna recommend that I work with him. If Conrad blends better with a certain fighter, you know, like he is recommended to him. If Peter or Neil or you know, like whomever, it's like it's who clicks with who and who clicks with whose coaching style. So that's how things are done, you know.
Makes sense. There's a few. So I want to ask you, when it comes to Quebec MMA, we have a few important people, like in terms of like when it comes to like whether they made it to the UFC or not. So I'm gonna rattle off a few names to you. You'll tell me if I'm right or not. So the names are George St. Pierre, David Loiseau, Valerie Letourneau, Steve Claveau, and that's all I could think of right now.
Okay, so you want me to give my 2 cents on the guys which I've
Yeah,
seen
how they've contributed to Quebec mixed martial arts.
big time? Look, like they've contributed. Look, like we're gonna start with David. He was the original Quebecer with the slicing elbows that came from TriStar Gym, came from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and he was one of the first to actually represent us, and he represented Quebec very well. He's a legend, a pioneer, an icon. I have no I cannot say anything bad about this guy. Like he's a guy from Kyokushin too. Like he had the basics in Kyokushin and Taekwondo, I think. Uh, we never had the opportunity to spar one another, but we did train like in the same time and place. But I could say no, Dave is a pioneer, man. Like you cannot take away what he paved the way for George St. Pierre. That's my opinion on that, and I know I'm not the only. he the way for guys like George St. Pierre.
That's true, because he came on before George. He came on at UFC 42, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in 2003. I know, I know this, but he came up in April 2003 as the first Quebecer under the Zuffa era.
Yeah, I remember like he was one of the Quebecers which went there. It was Ivan Menjivar. There was Steve Vigneault, which was on one of David Loiseau's cards. Yeah, like no, like I could say David was the elbow king, was aggressive as hell, and he deserved to be one of the first to go represent Quebec in the UFC. You know, and I liked his style. Like he was aggressive. He was a great striker. Still is. Like I know he has a school now, and I'm pretty sure that he's a good coach too. You know,
He's very sought after. Like his Crow Fighting Fitness Center has among the highest reviews on Google. So I gave you a free ad read there, David. So I hope when you listen to this, if I got you a new student or two, what's up? We know Justin Mancini and Mo. So yeah,
yeah.
it's all in the hood. It's all in the hood.
So you asked me for Valérie Letourneau, another pioneer for women's mixed martial arts here in Quebec. I think the only one, if I'm not mistaken, that comes out of here. That was one of the originals. It's like Val, I worked with her once or twice, but I know she worked more with Ash. But I had the opportunity to work with her a couple of times at Tristar. And yeah, like she was one of the pioneers, like she was one of the originals, very down to earth. She knows her craft. She's as tough as they come. For her to fight some of the best, like in Bellator, I've seen all her fights. Like she's tough, and she's, to my opinion, a real martial artist. She's one of the pioneers. Like you can't take nothing away from Val. Like Valerie is one of the women that I could say could pave the way for up and coming Quebec female mixed martial artists.
Very true. Yeah, no, not many people know about her. Like they only think of Ronda Rousey or Holly Holm, but for Canadian women's MMA, yeah, there was Alexis Davis, but Quebec needed we're a very prideful province. They need their heroes and heroines, or however you say it. Like, if you say heroine, it sounds like the drug, but no, it's like the feminine version of hero. I'm not good at grammar, okay? Listen, it's not a grammar show, it's a martial arts show. But look, the point is, I can see what you mean. She's an extremely important figure for women's martial arts in Quebec.
Like if you're going to talk about mixed martial arts evolution here in Quebec or Canada, you cannot leave Valérie Letourneau's name out. You cannot leave David Loiseau's name out. You cannot leave Ivan Menjivar's name out. You cannot leave Bill Mahoud's name out, like from British Columbia. Like you can't leave Steve Claveau's name out. You can't do that. And there's a lot of others too. And of course, George St. Pierre, but that's on another level. But if we're going to go way back, like you cannot leave these guys out. Steve Vigneault, we're going to go way back as David Lorenzi. These guys were back in the UCC days, the days of the TKO when it was brand new. Like these guys were guys that paved the way. Killers, guys like Dominic, guys like the hell's his name? That he's from Ontario. Like there were three guys. Oh man, Chris Horodecki, Sam Stout. Like now I'm going way back. But if you're looking at Canadian mixed martial arts or Quebec mixed martial arts, like there was always that rivalry with Ontario and Quebec. But these are the guys which put MMA on the map. So UCC, TKO, and then you knew who had the rite of passage, like to go to the UFC. And every one of those guys, to my opinion, could have went to the UFC. So most probably like it was maybe bad management, maybe injuries, maybe timing, work. But we are going to remember guys like David Loiseau, Ivan Menjivar, Steve Claveau, Valerie Le Tourneau, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. You know.
No, it's very true. Like Steve, I remember Clevo. Like, yes, like he fought on the local scenes, but he's a very important figure for Quebec MMA, and not many people know about that. And I mean, like,
Oh,
like I
sorry, like I totally forgot one of my favorites, the Road Warrior, Jonathan Goulet, which was one of the original bad boys here, like in Quebec, which he represented Team Legion, which was which their leader was Steve Claveau. So you knew of them because they always had like that fiery haircut, like they had green, red, purple haircut. So yeah, like one figure which we can't leave out, and he's a very important one too, is Jonathan Goulet, the Road Warrior. This was one of the pioneers in UCC and TKO, and went to the UFC, and he was a brutal fighter. He was, very good. Like from what I remember.
he was a brawler, fought guys like Mike Swick, made himself fights very hard for his opponents, and then he
Yep.
became like I think he's doing what now? Didn't he contribute to the Wimp to Warrior program? I believe he's like he's a significant player in that.
Yeah, like I think Jonathan, he was one of the coaches, one of the coaching staffs, like to the Wimp to Warrior thing, and now he's walking across Quebec. I don't know really all the details, but if you follow him on Instagram or Facebook, you'll see like he's trying to walk like I don't know how many miles or kilometers, but he's doing it for some federation or some like I couldn't tell you exactly, but he's a tough individual, man. Like he's been through ups and downs. So for me, like that's one to respect. Like if you gotta know your Quebec and Canadian mixed martial arts, like Jonathan Goulet and Steve Claveau and Team Legion is those guys. Like you gotta look them up.
Those were the days, man. Those were the days. And so I mean, look, I mean, we're all gonna get out of this pandemic somehow, but what do you think the expectation is for Canadian MMA? Because I mean, since George left, we still haven't found our star, our successor. Um, Rory left the UFC. He won it in Bellator, and then he left Bellator to go to PFL. So what's so why so what do you who do you think's the next great hope for us?
Well, look, like I can say, not the next great hope. Like there's a lot of talented fighters that come out of Quebec and that come out of a lot of the gyms that are here in Canada. There's a lot of great guys in it, but there'll never be another George St. Pierre. Like there's only one Muhammad Ali. There's only one Mike Tyson. There's only one mixed martial artist which we put on the map here in Canada and North America, GSP, George St. Pierre, straight up. And not because I'm part of the coaching staff there, but in general, George is one of the legends, the icons in North American mixed martial arts, second to none. Of course, there's going to be a lot of people which are going to give their opinions, but if you're going to look at George as a whole, second to none. There will not be another George. There will be a Rory McDonald. There's going to be a Mandel Mallow. There's going to be Louis Stadukas. Like if I messed up his name, I mean he is gonna kill me. But there's gonna be an Ayman Zahabi. There's gonna be guys from the West which are trained by Dennis Kang. Like there's gonna be a guy called Bryce Goujon, which is trained by Dennis Kang and myself. Like there's a lot of up and coming stars here in Canada. The Jourdain brothers, Charles and Louis, amazing
Oh yeah,
prospect.
shout out to Corinne Laframboise. Like she got me to know who the Jourdain brothers were.
Well, like I've known them because I seen them grow up. Like I was on the south side. Like I used to be in a gym where they grew up. It was called the Pro Star MMA, and it was on the south side like of the island. So I was there a couple of years with Dennis Kang and Lee Villeneuve, which was the head jiu-jitsu coach there. So I can tell you that these guys grew up and they were well surrounded. Now I think their head coach is Fabio Hollanda. So you know, like they're well taken care of. So they're all veterans of the MMA game. And Shao, to me, could be one of the future prospects, which he is. You know, like he has
He's
proven.
one of the best featherweights in the world, actually.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like a kid that I've seen grow up, and I knew that this kid had talent. Now he's well surrounded, and I hope he's going to continue to be well surrounded, and he can do big things, man. You know, his level of maturity now is getting better and better as a man and as a martial artist, and I think his attitude, like, going to probably get him. You know, like I could see him become top 10, man. Like he's really good, but he should be more active. Like if you ask me.
Yeah. Like a Kevin Hall, and like, keep taking on the fights, just building up that resume, the more active he is, and then that way he'll develop his skills.
Like I could say, like there's so many Canadians or Quebecers, amazing talent, man. You know, but if we're gonna go talk about George, listen, there's only one. You know, like you cannot say, oh well, who's the next hope? There is no next hope. There's George, and then there's all the up and coming stars. You know.
It's very true. It's very true. Like it's it's crazy to see how the sport has evolved. And then when things come back to normal, I mean, I was talking with I had Vic Terrio on my show. I'm sure you know Vic, right? Jean-Yves' brother.
Yeah, of course, Vic is a promoter,
Yeah.
and he's an old school cat, man. Like if you think I'm old school, holy shit, Vic is old school. You know.
Jesus, that guy is like a storyteller.
Is in my opinion, Vic is an encyclopedia of combat sports and kickboxing. He was the golden era of kickboxing, I think, in the 70s and 80s, when his brother was a great and still is considered a legend in that era of kickboxing. You know, so yeah, like shout out to Vic. Like I can see, yeah, like he's one of the originals too.
Vic's doing a lot of good work too, in terms of, because I know he wants to try to advocate to get kickboxing and MMA legalized in Quebec and Canada. And like I always, like I was talking with Emilio Greco about it on my show with him, and I said Vic is the guy to do it. Like I mean, Vic is the one with the AAMQ and Vic. I mean, like I know it's two different entities, but I mean, Vic, I'm sure Vic can make a really good case to like the government to say, why is this sport outlawed when like.
Well, listen, like I could give you my opinion on that. Like we should all unite, meaning guys like Vic, that is a pioneer, a veteran, and knows combat sports since the early 70s and 80s. He has to hook up with the AMMQ, and we all could be a big force to work with all our knowledge, with all our experience, with all our good stories, positive stories that we have through martial arts. Why we got to make it essential. So rather than, look at individuals, let's all team up and let's get together. So in my opinion, it would be great to have a guy like him into, that federation, like the association, which we need to make government hear that we're not about combat sports, like we're about changing lives.
Very, very true. And I think he would definitely be an asset. And I mean, look, I don't know what he does. I can't speak for him, but I definitely think having him in the AAMQ is only going to help raise the bar in terms of the relevance and in terms of who they have in their side. And as mentioned, when you're united, that's when we could see the big changes. Like, look at all the bars in Montreal. Why is it that they could open up first? It's because they have an they have an association. We don't have that. But if we did have that, I think having big name players like Vic, you have guys like Justin with Chris Shawbell amongst others, and then Tristar, and then Vincent Michaud. Like we show we're united. We show you we're united. They're gonna take notice. It's only normal.
So that's why, like, I give the hats off to Justin from Angry Monkey, because he had the right mindset to say we gotta put all the bad reputation that we accumulated with all the years. We need to make an association, and we need, the right people to look at what we're able to offer. And it's not only blood and guts, it has nothing to do with that. It's about martial arts, like it's about a way of life, it's about being healthy, it's about being essential, it's about helping people which are going through bad times in their lives. It's to help people with their mental illnesses, with their drug addictions. You know, like we change a lot of lives, but people don't see this in general. So I guess the association is going to probably put light on what coaches like myself, Justin, Ryan Parsons, the guys from 360 Punch, the guys from Tristar, the guys from Apex, from Angry Monkey, from the Warriors, you name it. Like, you know, like they're going to see what a difference we do in people's lives. So they have to, you know, we have to shine a light on what we do.
It's very, very true. It's very true. We gotta, and that's why. So now switching it to a positive note, you have your Mortal Kombat arcade game in your house. So when we're allowed to go over to each other's people's houses, I'm coming over to your house. I'm gonna play it, and I'm picking Johnny Cage.
No worries, brother. Listen, like the reason why that I bought this is because I had it on my bucket list for years. Because back when I used to live in a little cruddy apartment, I had made a bucket list. You know, my bucket list, I could say like it consisted of I was gonna ride a motorcycle, I was gonna buy a house, and it might sound stupid and funny, but I wanted a life-size arcade game of Mortal Kombat. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, well, because I gotta plug like my adapter. So whatever, like on my bucket list, like there was I want to buy myself the real life-size Mortal Kombat game and put it in my house. So I got the motorcycle. I crossed that out. I became a UFC striking coach. I crossed that out. I worked with world-class talent. I crossed that out. And I bought a house. I crossed that out. And I said, man, like there's one thing which I'm missing. So I think it was like 2-3 years ago at Christmas, I found it online and it wasn't very expensive. And I said, holy shit, like I'm going to buy this, you know, just so that I take it off of my bucket list, you know? So yeah, that's it. So I never play it. It's brand new. It's plugged in the wall. It's got Mortal Kombat, the original one, Mortal Kombat 2, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat. So you can play all three games like on this console.
I thought you have played it.
Sorry?
I thought you have played it.
Oh yeah, sure, of course, man. But I said like I don't play it every day.
Okay.
Like, I played it once in a while, but it's not my like how can I say it? Like I don't go downstairs and play it all the time. For me, it's like vintage stuff. Like I don't want to touch it, you know? Like I want to keep it in good condition, and maybe one day I'll sell it to somebody that's a big fan of Mortal Kombat. But for now, it's not for sale, you know. But if ever you're welcome to come over at any time. You let me know, and you feel free to play, man. No worries, brother.
It's nice. Yeah. Let me ask you this. Okay, so back in your day, it was Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. So I'm gonna fly off some character names, and you're gonna tell me which one you prefer. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Liu Kang or Ryu?
Ryu.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Johnny Cage or Guile?
Cage.
Okay. Kano or Vega?
Vega.
Okay. Here's a good one. Here's a good one. Sonya Blade or Chun-Li?
Chun-Li.
You're more of a Street Fighter guy. So I'm kind of confused here.
No, well, like I'm actually looking at their skill set.
Okay.
You know, like that's the coach in me. Drew, like I'm gonna plug you in because I don't want to die out on you here.
Yeah, I don't want it to die. It's gonna ruin the flow.
So I'm not like I'm just gonna plug you in.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. right here.
So that's great. Yeah, that's interesting. So that's crazy how you look at their styles, because the Street Fighter styles are more applicable than, say, Mortal Kombat. Well, it is real in Mortal Kombat, but it's just not known because we don't really know. You have to really observe.
Yeah, well, look, like I look at it. Of course, I'm a martial artist, so I prefer the characters which are more lifelike. So when I looked at Johnny Cage, it's very lifelike. Like you can split. He has a more of a Kyokushin style. If you're looking at guys like Ryu, same shit. Like he looks like a Kyokushin guy, so I like it. Vega, I like his agility. I like his dexterity, his flexibility. That's in the video game, of course. Who else? I like Scorpion. Yeah, I like his brutal style. Like if you're gonna ask me, who else? Raiden. Like I like to play with Raiden too. Yeah. So wow, like you're making me go back to my childhood days.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was before the internet. Like, it was arcade games and quarters. Like, this generation will never understand what it's like to go to an arcade and put quarters in at an arcade machine. And that's the truth. Like, you know what? Like, or Tekken. Like, I mean, look at Tekken. I grew up on Tekken. I mean, that's my game. So
Yeah.
so now they're making a new Mortal Kombat movie. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm actually like excited, because I've seen all the Mortal Kombat movies which they've done, and like they really sucked, man. Like they were really not up to the expectation. And yeah, but this one looks like they're doing a pretty good job. Like I looked at the trailer a couple of times, and the effects are really looking good. I guess they really took actors which are probably martial artists or good stuntmen, which know what they're doing. I would have rather taken, like, if you're asking my opinion on that, I would have taken guys like Scott Adkins. Like
Yes.
I would have guys like Jason Statham,
AAMQ Mousasi.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like those guys playing some Mortal Kombat characters would have been off the charts.
I'm going to give you my list of who I wanted to see in that movie, okay? It's martial arters, and you'll tell me if it has Sandro's stamp of approval. I don't ask for people's approval because I don't give a fuck, but you know what? For this one needs your stamp of approval. Okay, so here's what we're going to have, okay? Jet Li.
Okay, wow.
Michael Jai White.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Got it. Michael Jai White's an OG, man. Jason Statham, Scott Adkins, AAMQ Mousasi.
Yeah.
And I would have to say, if we could put a fighter in a movie, Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah, like he's like the equivalent to when Kimbo Slice did a couple of movies with Michael Jai White. Yeah, like he would be a good actor. I mean, because he has that suave, like he has that type of look and he has that type of character. Now, I would even say Connor, even if I'm not a big fan of his, but I can say Connor as a character in a martial arts movie would be really interesting to watch. Like it would be really cool to watch. And of course, GSP, because we've seen him already, like in Captain America. So like that would be kind of interesting,
You think Captain America?
Yeah, like he was in a scene of Captain America, like he fought Captain America.
Wow, I did not know that. I did not know that was George.
Oh, well, like you got to look at Captain America. I think the original one. I'm not sure if that's it, but there's a scene like you could Google it or you can YouTube it, and GSP fights Captain America. So like he did a fight scene which was quick, but it was pretty good, man. Like if like he did some good stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, but I think the list we have there, I think the list I gave you is pretty approvable. Like.
Of course. Hey, listen, like if those actors have basics and fundamentals in martial arts, they have every right to play martial arts characters. What I get annoyed with when I watch some certain action movies is they put these bozos which never threw a punch or a kick in their life, and they never studied the art of any martial art, and they're trained for 6 months, and then they're put on, oh, well, look, like I'm going to give you a great one. Sorry, like it just dawned. Tom Hardy. Like if you put Tom Hardy like as a like in Mortal Kombat, that would be an amazing character. Tom Hardy.
He's a legitimate martial artist. He does BJJ actually.
Fuck yeah, man. You know. But yeah, like to get back to what we were talking about, it's like you know, like put guys that know martial arts, put guys that actually train, put guys that actually threw down in the gym. And if they're actors, well, so be it. Good. But don't put actors that don't know how to throw a punch. It's ridiculous, man.
Like in Cobra Kai.
Ah, horrible. Listen, it's a genre. It brings me back to when I was a child, like in the 80s. It's very cool and it's brings back a lot of good memories. But if you're asking me as a martial arts coach, it's horrible, man. It's so cringy. It's good, you know?
It's like Jean-Claude Van Damme's first film, No Retreat, No Surrender.
Yes. Oh my God. Like you're going way back, or else Cyborg, you know? It's crazy.
No, my favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme films, obviously there's Bloodsport, but for me it's Kickboxer and Double Impact, especially the scene where Bolo Young takes him and just smashes him against like a shipping container. It's like
Bolo Young, wow, now that's another OG, man, which like nobody freaking talks about. But Bolo was a big martial arts star like back in the 80s, well, back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. You know, like he was the ultimate bad guy, you know.
he really was, just because he never spoke English. That really hurt him because like some of these guys, they didn't need to learn the language. They just were like, oh, okay, well, you just have to be silent, quiet. It's good. We'll
Do you remember the guy's name that played Bruce Lee in The Dragon? Like, I forgot his name. Was it Jason Scott Lee, I think, or something like that? Like, he played Bruce Lee in The Dragon. Like, it was maybe 10, 15 years ago.
I don't ever seen that movie.
You got to Google that shit, Drew. Come on, man.
I mean, I've been watching Blade lately. Like every time I talk to someone, it's like I watch Blade, the first one. The first one still holds up to this day. I'm sorry. You know what? When people tell me like, oh, like Black Panther was the first black superhero. No. It was Blade,
Shaft,
1998.
Yeah. It was either Shaft or Blade. Like,
yes.
You look at the old G's. You know, yes. Like some people, no. Like they got to do their research. Like they got to know their shit, man. You know, like if they're looking at that, it's Blade, straight up.
That rave scene in the beginning with that techno, it's like the ultimate walkout music. It's still the best scene. It's like it's 1998. We're in 2021. It's 23 years old. Watch it on YouTube if you love martial arts films and action scenes. It still holds up. It's like it ages like fun. It never gets old.
It's still very good, man. Listen, like I love when he walks into the rave and beats the shit out of everybody. It still looks good because it's choreographed to a T. And,
that was the best. That was the best. Like when the guy's trying to escape the vampires and like he just sees Blade and Blade's just walking around. Everyone's like, it's like, holy shit, it's Blade. And it's like, hooks up the whole club. That was my favorite. And you know what? Even the guy, it's like Wesley Snipes, man. Like that movie saved his career.
Oh, like I don't know about him, but that was one of my favorites too. Like back in the day, Blade is a movie like I could say like I could watch over and over again, like you told me, like just like the Rocky movies, same shit.
It doesn't get old. There's also some of the Jackie Chan films. Like for me, my first Jackie Chan film was Jackie Chan's First Strike, which was where he works with the Russians in a sense, but goes to Australia. So it's like not many people know about that one. They know about Rush Hour, Rumble in the Bronx, maybe Mr. Nice Guy if you're lucky enough. Mr. Nice Guy was one of his other ones that was really good.
That was good, but if you're gonna go way back, you got to look at Police Story.
That's what First Strike is. It's Police Story Part 4 basically, because there's there's like 10 Police Story films, but the ones that I know are the number 1, number 2, Super Cop, which is like Police Story 3, and then number 4, which is First Strike.
Yeah, like he's the OG, man, that does his own stunts. Like that's amazing. And I don't know, like today, if he's in his late 60s or something, but he still looks great. He still looks good.
Amazing. He really does. You mean
Donnie Yen or Donnie Yan or Donnie
Yeah,
Yen?
he's also another one that's very like like no, like it's like he does for sure some form of like Tai Chi or something or
Well, like he played in the movie Ip Man,
yeah.
and he's very good, very good. Like he's another martial artist, which I would put in a movie, to put all of the iconic martial artists, like you got to put him in there.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
definitely true. Like you got to put him in there. There's so many. There's like him. There's Van Damme, but I mean Van Damme is kind of like, eh.
I would put Dolph. I would put Dolph Lundgren, man. Like he's the original bad guy, like the original Ivan Drago, but with a Kyokushin base. So like that's one which I'd put in there. I'd put Scott Adkins.
His real name is not Dolph.
No, shit, like
Hans.
I didn't know.
His real name is Hans. Like, and even in Kyokushin tournaments in Europe, because like shout out to like guys like Mac Robertson and amongst some others that I have in the UK scene, Darren Stringer, Felix Tumaza. They were talking about like, yeah, we know Dolph, but he went by Hans.
Mm. I think he fought in a world tournament. If I might be mistaken, but I think he fought in a world tournament back in the early.
He's fought in a few.
Amazing. So when you could vouch and when you could say that you fought in world tournaments, you're the real deal. And also, for me, that's hats off, man. You know?
Yeah, like, and he's really done well for his career. Like, he still does Kyokushin. He's like Dolph is like had like a resurgence in a sense. It's like a huge renaissance. Like in his late 60s. Like, and he still looks good for his age.
Amazing. Look, like it's just proof again. It's proof that sports, combat sports, martial arts keeps you young at heart and keeps your body strong and keeps you healthy. That's what this government here has to do research on. They got to look at sports, combat sports, martial arts. It makes the population strong, confident, and healthy. You know, like I don't understand how this is a no-brainer. Like I don't get how people don't understand this or they don't want to understand it. It's like you don't need to be a brain surgeon to fucking understand this, you know?
It's crazy. Yeah, no, like it doesn't make sense. But like, I mean, I know you're a Kyokushin base and Dutch kickboxing base. So I
Yeah.
know you're not against Muay Thai. You respect all martial arts.
Oh,
But
big time.
I feel like, I mean, like you have a guy like, shout out to Ian Perron. Ian's like a huge Muay Thai advocate, and you're like a huge Dutch kickboxing advocate. What I would love to do is get you two on a show together, and then Ian explains why Muay Thai is the best, and then you explain why Dutch kickboxing is the best.
Well, listen, like both have their positives and negatives. In my opinion, Muay Thai is a beautiful art, but it comes from a culture. You know, like it's got a different scoring system. It's got a different mindset. You know, Dutch style kickboxing comes from Holland, of course. And a lot of the Dutch style kickboxers back in the early days, like Raymond Deckers, like a lot of the legends, they transitioned to Muay Thai, and guess what? They became Muay Thai legends. So let's just give a question to Ian. Has there ever been a Muay Thai legend transfer over to Dutch style kickboxing and become a Dutch style kickboxing legend? When have you ever heard of that? So that's one of my points, but I'm not discrediting Muay Thai. Like it's brutal. It's the art of eight limbs. It, you know, like I've studied it for many years. Like I was honored to be alongside guys like Crew Phil Nurse, Crew Mark Cleary. I had an old friend of mine called Matt Gauthier, which fought out of Thailand. Guys that fought out of Lumpini Stadium. So when you're amongst or alongside these guys learning the art of Muay Thai, it's like you're being alongside legends. So, but for me, it wasn't my cup of tea, but I always respected it. I liked it. I like the elbows. I like the knees. I like the clinch work. I like the sweeps. What I don't like is the back and forth. I kick you, you kick me, I kick you, you kick me. And the scoring system in Thailand, like if you look this up, you can batter a Muay Thai fighter with your hands and they will never score it. But if the Muay Thai fighter kicks you 3 to 4 times, like they're going to score the kicks and they're going to score the knees. So the Muay Thai fighter in Muay Thai original rules is going to be more prone to him. but that's in Thailand. So, and every Muay Thai practitioner that knows Muay Thai will know this. These are the traditional rules. They score more kicks, more knees, more clinch control. But if you get somebody that's better with his hands, they don't actually look at that. Like, they see it, but they're not going to score it.
Very true. Yeah, that's what I was also planning before this on my last show. Shout out, we're gonna get my friend Adam from Kaplan to come on. And now Adam has his own show called The Unanimous Decision. So if you like combat sports, please follow that show too. He had Haim Ghazali on his show, the Bellator Israeli legend.
Wow, amazing.
Yep. Yeah, had him on, and so yeah, Adam. That's what I want to do too. Like, it was for fun. Ian, you and me just debate each other on like which style is more effective for shits and giggles. And then, but for Adam, because Adam actually fought in Thailand 2 times, and I think like, but he just wants to do like talk about like Muay Thai and like pick your brain, and it'd be like, it kind of be like when Rogan had on Eddie Bravo and Hicks and Gracie. That's how I'd want to do that, like that style of conversation.
Well, look, like I could say that, you know, Muay Thai, like I was honored to be in the presence of a legend, and I did a seminar. I spent a couple of days with him alongside Ryan Parsons. You know, it was John Wayne Parr. So John Wayne Parr is an icon, a legend, and still to this day fights. You know, like I think he's got a fight which is coming up at the ONE FC. You know, so when you're alongside and you're sharing knowledge with these guys, like they're legendary figures, like you're not looking at, oh, well, is Dutch style better than Muay Thai? No, like I'm absorbing his knowledge. And John Wayne Parr is one of the best in the business, you know, like, and I've had the honor to hang with him, to train with him, to learn from him. But I can say, yeah, like it's a whole mix up. So, but it will be kind of fun, like to debate, you know, Muay Thai and Dutch. But at the end of the day, like it's all the same shit. Like it only depends on which rule set. You know, where are they actually fighting? Like, are they fighting at the ONE FC, which they're gonna have smaller gloves? Are they fighting in Glory? Are they fighting back in the day in K1? So listen, like there's some legendary fights that could describe K1 against Muay Thai. There was Bacau versus Masato. So if you Google this and you watch this, what a fight. And it was a trilogy too. So there was trilogies, like amazing. So one guy was Kyokushin mixed with Dutch style kickboxing, and another guy was straight up Muay Thai. But the Muay Thai artist had a bit of a handicap because he was fighting right under K1 rules, meaning that he wasn't allowed to clinch more than 3 seconds. He wasn't allowed to catch and sweep. So it was strictly striking. So it was K1 rules. But yeah, but I could say that if it's reversed and you bring them to Thailand with the Thai boxing rules, the K1 fighter is going to have a hell of a hard time because he's not used to the clinch game. Like he's not used to the grab and sweep and pull, and the scoring system is a bit, you know, weird, you know, because like they're not gonna count a great boxer, but if you kick a guy a certain number of times, you know, so it's a whole different type of, it's a different type of mindset, like it's a different type of rule set. So to me, like both, which are mended with one great fighter that could mend those, wow, a killer. Like
very true. Well, honestly, man, I gotta say, you know, we did already 2 hours. This is crazy.
Amazing, bro. Like I could talk all night about.
I know, and it's probably gonna get a lot of plays because it's you, and you know they're gonna see, oh, Sandro, and you have your voice. So, guys, please like and subscribe my podcast. You know, I don't ask for much. I'm not asking for money. This is not a Prince scam, like one of those like Nigerian Prince scams. Like,
subscribe, guys. Like Drew knows his shit, man. You know, like if you like combat sports, like if you like martial arts, Drew knows his stuff, man.
I just got to get an opener and I got to get a new MacBook, which is happening this year. Like I'm getting a MacBook 16-inch Pro for video editing with RAM and storage galore. Yeah. So, and then getting one of those EOS cameras, be a real, like, got to be like a legitimate podcaster.
Amazing, bro. And maybe like if you want to buy like my Mortal Kombat arcade game, it might be part of your decor.
One day, one day. But where can people find you if they want to connect with you on social media?
Okay, on social media, like if they want to connect with me on Instagram, it's sandro.ferr, Ferr, Ferr. You can message me, like if ever you're interested in whatever. Like once like the gyms, they open up, and I'm pretty sure they will pretty soon. We can't linger like this much longer. Listen, like I train everybody. So if anybody has a passion for martial arts or the striking arts, or they want to get in shape, or they want to learn how to defend themselves, feel free to throw me a message on Instagram, and I'll answer you like within a day or two. Or you could hook up with me on Facebook, Sandro Ferr. It's the same thing, Sandro Ferr. So my videos are on YouTube. You just punch out my name. If you want to see what I'm all about, if you want to see what I could offer to your kids or to an upcoming fighter, look me up on YouTube, and there's I think a lot of footage there, a lot of old footage, but you'll know what you're getting yourself into.
Perfect. And guys, make sure to like and subscribe my page, the Drewsperience on YouTube. Let me just see my channel name. Fuck, I'm so neglectful sometimes. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm new to this. Okay, Rome wasn't built in a day, so let me just check my channel name here. It's what I love. The Drewsperience podcast. So please look it up on YouTube. It's on iTunes and audio too, but YouTube is popping. So whether it's audio, video, please subscribe, like, follow the Drewsperience on Instagram. Connect with me personally on Instagram, DrewNomad7, where I will do my best to answer you if it's about combat sports. And yeah, so Sandro, I want to say thanks once again for coming on. 2 hours, the spontaneous podcast, and those are the best ones sometimes.
Drew, like, is it okay to give a shout out like to a couple of guys?
Yeah, of course.
Listen, like I want to shout out to Angry Monkey, to Justin for doing what he does best, like to try to unite all the martial arts community so that we become essential. I want to shout out to Tristar Gym and all their coaches, and of course Firaz and Eamon for that great victory this weekend. I'd like to shout out to the 360 Punch in the West Island, to Xavier Aloui and Matt Wozniak, which have always been there for me since day one, since the pandemic started. And I want to shout out Cabalas, the Cabalas Gym, which is in the East End, TJ Stefano, which is an up-and-comer good coach, good individual, good martial artist. So you want to hook up with these guys, or you want to check out their pages, go right ahead and check them out.
Awesome. As mentioned, there's enough slices of pie to go around for everyone to succeed. So that's how it is.
Tell me about it. You know, like I could shout out all fucking night, man. Like to Ryan Parsons at Apex. You know, like I could go on and on and on and on and on. But yeah, hey Drew, look, man, like it was amazing again. I'm very proud of you. Like I'm pretty sure that you're gonna have some exceptional guests, great people like to interview. And when you make it really big, man, like don't forget your first guest.
I never do. I don't forget those that bled with me.
All right, brother. Hey, listen, like it was again.
Thanks, man.